Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, I have to eat during assigned time periods. So I will give up on my career or move out. Okay. But the cheese cup. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I have to eat during assigned time periods. So I will. My job pays a total of $35 per day for food while traveling, divided into breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The rules also say that each meal needs to be bought within certain time periods of 2 hours. You must eat breakfast between 8 to 10 a.m., lunch between 12 to 2 p.m., and dinner between 5 to 7 p.m. They didn't used to be too stringent about this because the person who approved travel expenses thought it was stupid. Then they replaced her. Because they would only approve a very cheap flight, I had to leave my home at 3 a.m. I stopped to grab coffee and a bagel at about 5 o'clock. The new person rejected it and said I could only buy and eat food within a meal period. Well, fine. I used to work straight through lunch. Because I have to work with people from lots of time zones, this was sometimes necessary. Now I leave or reject calls because it's in my lunch period and I must go lest I miss it. No working late either. I leave at 5 p.m. because I can't miss my dinner period. I also make sure to spend all $35. I must be healthy and not skip meals. Coincidentally, hungry homeless people also enjoy my meal periods. Give up on my career or move out. Okay. This happened recently and right now things have calmed down, so it feels right to post this here. So about 2 weeks ago my best friend, 22, had called me, 23, asking if he could be my roommate if I find a place. I was looking for a place to stay while going to college. I told him, sure, but why? But he said he'd tell me later. We both meet up a few days later and drive about an hour away from our hometown to move into the place. We spent a few hours setting everything up and unpacking, yet he never said anything about why he wanted to move in with me so suddenly. After we were done, he sat down and explained the situation at home. He and his parents had been at each other's throats recently because he had landed a remote job after our summer internship and they thought he was wasting his life playing on the computer. His parents have always done factory and physical labor jobs and look down on people who work from their computers because they don't know what real work is. Side note, his dad actually does his auto shop's taxes and other functions from his office and rarely does any mechanic work himself, so it's kinda hypocritical. He continues to tell me that the day before he called and asked me they had a huge blowout that resulted in his parents giving him the ultimatum of, get a real job or get out, and he says he just went to his room and started packing. I'm guessing even if I said no he was moving out regardless. That brings us to him telling the story to me. When he was done he looked so relieved. I believe the reason he kept so quiet during the move was because he was holding it in and trying not to go crazy. After that we both spent the rest of the day hanging out to try and keep his mind off of things. Fast forward 3 days later, his parents call him asking why his stuff's not in his room. They were gone a few days to give him time to come to his senses, thinking he'd give up his roughly 4 years of college and internships to get a job as a mechanic starting from scratch. There's nothing wrong with mechanic or people who work labor jobs, but he's been working his butt off these last few years only for them to basically tell him to drop all that and get a job they want him to get. I leave the apartment to give him and them some privacy and take a quick walk. When I get back, 20 minutes later, he's got a wide smile on his face and he tells me the long and short of it. He apparently left a few details out before and this time told me the whole story. Roughly around the time we started working at that paid internship, his parents have been charging him rent, $350, every month as motivation for him to get a real job, and the blowout they had was about him being able to pay it, despite not having a real job they had picked out. They said he needed to grow up, get real work experience, and even went as far as accuse him of stealing to get the money, so he had enough and packed up while they were gone. The phone call they had was him basically telling them he can't go back home because he's not gonna change his major, current job, or career path, so he was staying at the apartment with me. I asked him if he's gonna be okay. He assured me that he already explained everything to his other relatives and that they're gonna try and talk to his family to see if they can convince them to understand why he wants this job and how computer work is still work. This is gonna be our last 2 semesters and the tuition is already paid off, so we're good ATM, as the only thing we gotta worry about is the rent, which we can both cover pretty well. Honestly, I was gonna ask him to split this apartment with me regardless, because I found a good apartment complex that had a shuttle to our college and had 2 rooms open, but I'm still glad I could help him. He says he'll eventually start talking to his parents again, but I don't think that'll happen until after they come to their senses, or else they might lose their only son. But the cheese cup. My husband's old job was extremely picky about expenses. Several people from his office were sent to a half-day conference on the other side of the state, so with the travel time they were allowed to claim reimbursement for lunch. They stopped at Arby's, I think he said. And he got a couple things off the dollar menu. Fries, a sandwich, drink, that kind of thing. And then, to dip the fries, he got a 25-cent cup of cheese dip. I'm sure it was plastic Y and mediocre as hell, but I try not to judge the man for his taste. Anyway, he got back and filed his reimbursement for like $4. Several days later he was called into accounting to explain why he thought this cheese cup was a warranted expense, as it was not part of his meal. Apparently the unofficial policy was that you could reimburse a meal deal but no extras. After a short argument he convinced them to approve the 25 cents, but he was politely asked not to pull that again. So naturally on any subsequent occasions they were out over meal times, he made a point to get whatever supersize combo extravaganza was on offer, costing 2-3x what he'd normally order, and accounting was like, yep, that is the correct way to do food. It's been years and my husband still gets mad when I casually drop the cheese cup incident into conversation. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.